Hello and welcome to this video and this channel. Today's subject is about the depth of people, and I mean as a sort of a psychological, psyche kind of depth, more related and focused on sort of indigos and empaths, and there's a whole history as to why this can be quite important. So, and I don't want this to sound big-headed or self-centered in a way, but this is just facts really about sometimes why empaths come across as being too deep, too emotional, to other people sometimes can just be too confusing, too much to deal with. And so it does actually become quite interesting if you bear with me. So most people in the world, let's just say most people are 10 pages thick, okay? With regard to their life, their psychology, their knowledge, their experiences. And a lot of people in the world have a mask, a face, so a book cover, as it were. And so, that works for most people. It doesn't necessarily work very much for an empath or an indigo, because we go beyond the 10 pages. We go beyond book cover. We're a 1,000-page book, and this is the kind of example that I can give. Okay, so if you think of an indigo or an empath person being 1,000 pages, and the majority of people in this world, and I'm not being derogatory by any means, but if most people in this world are, let's say, between 10 and 100 pages, when an empath person comes across somebody who's 10 pages or 100 pages deep, that's not really very deep. If you're 1,000 pages deep, that's quite a deep book. A 10-page book is something that doesn't contain an awful lot of information. So even a child who was born, an indigo as an empath, will still be 1,000 pages deep, if this makes sense. While most of the people that child will come in contact with will still only be 10 to 100 pages deep. Okay, now I'm trying to make the comparison that maybe the majority of people were born 10 pages deep, and they may attain 100 pages deep throughout their lifetime, and they will have accomplished an awful lot. But an empath is born 1,000 pages deep and will probably get deeper. Okay, so the distance between the psychological level of a normal human and an empathic human or an indigo human is quite different. Is very, very different. And so this is why you get the problem of empaths being very, very isolated, because they tend to feel that they're not on the same page or chapter, as it were, as the majority of people. So we have the term reading people. Reading people that are only 10 pages or 100 pages is quite easy for somebody who's 1,000 pages, who can read someone 1,000 pages quite easily. So reading someone that's only 10 pages or 100 pages, is just extremely easy to do. Hence the reason why we can see through the mask, through the book cover, and see the real, the real content of someone quite quickly. I hope that makes sense, and that I've explained that in a way that people can relate to, because most people at some point in their life will have read a book, whether it's a small book or a big book. So I'm hoping that I've explained how an empath, how deep a book an empath would be compared to the majority of people. Now, of course, if you're a parent of an empath or an indigo, and without sounding derogatory, but if you're 10 pages deep and you've just given birth, or you have a child in your family that's 1,000 pages deep, can you see the difference? There is going to be quite a marked difference in the understanding of somebody who can only see 10 pages or 100 pages, and then they've got a child that's 1,000 pages deep. And so the misunderstanding, of course, with indigos and empaths is the fact that, they've got attention deficit conditions, ADDs, ADHDs and such like. They get classed as this because the majority of people can't understand them, and so they start pumping them full of chemicals and conditioning them into thinking that they should be something else, and of course they're not. So I think that probably sums it up. I hope it's kind of summed it up. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to talking with you again in another video.